無限大の地図広げ果てしないピアノ場所へ Let's sing on 高く頬を上げて風に乗れ
What's going on YouTube? Welcome to another video today. Today's video is going to be on my third place Kaido deck profile from locals this past weekend. I can't wait to share it with you guys. It's one that I've slowly built over time, kind of derived it from different lists, and slowly turned it into my own. The deck is getting ready to make some changes here for OPO2. It will be including two of the cards that are featured in the Film Red deck coming out here, I believe March 3rd or 4th. Not 100% sure. Or no. Coming out this coming weekend, February 3rd or 4th. That March is for the, I believe, OPO2 and the Navy structure decks, if I'm not 100% mistaken. But with that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into it. You guys will slowly see with this deck profile why it is different from other lists, and I'll explain why I play it that way. This list will also be changing itself into a purple and blue Kaido as well for next format, featuring the cards from the Film Red deck as well. Now let's go ahead and get jumping. Let's go ahead and get right into this. Starting off, we are playing 3 Blast Breath. This is going to be pretty standard across the board for most Kaido decks. In my experience, like I said, from all the lists that I've seen and what I've made of it in my own. Events really haven't changed too much. You could argue running 4. Personal preference, I have run it with both at 4 and at 3. I didn't really see too much of a difference with another one added. Like I said, personal preference. Coming up next, I am running 2 Thunder Bagua, pretty standard. You don't necessarily want to stock up on too many events here in this, as the deck runs very many +2 counters. And you'll see that here after Onigashima. Any staple in any Kaido deck. I have seen some Kaido variants that were not running Onigashima, some were running 3. I did test 3. I did not like it because you did not see it half as often as you would see it playing 4. So I'm a firm believer in any Kaido list playing 4 of Onigashima, no matter it being mono purple or blue purple. Now, like I said, you'll see here the +2k counters, which is almost the bread and butter of the entire deck. Starting it off, we have Orochi. With the low-cost blockers that I play 2 of the Higurashi, Higurashi. It's one of the only other blockers that we play in the deck as well. This next card may or may not be getting cut. It's good early game when you need a extra Dawn and you don't have Onigashima. It helps you ramp it up faster. But the blue-purple Kaido, basically when you KO a character on field, you get to add or set a Dawn as active or rested. I don't necessarily remember the effect right off the top of my head. But this is one of the cards that I was thinking of cutting moving forward, going into the newer version of the deck for next format. It's really, I've not played this card other than as a +1 counter, and if I did play this card, I don't remember doing it. It was very early in the game, and that's probably because I didn't have Onigashima turn 1 or during the mulligan. Next card. People will argue running this card at 2 or just not running it at all, from the people that I've spoken about it. But Who's Who, the trigger effect, -1 Dawn, and the ability to KO a opponent's cost 3 or less character, especially having it come from the life, you're able to clear a blocker for next turn if there was one standing in your way, or one of those pesky Rush Zoros, Rush Sanjis, something along those lines that will kind of allow you to get rid of it and prepare yourself for next turn, because it is able to attack going into that next turn after you draw. Next on the list, we play 2 of the Sasaki. I don't think I've ever used this card other than it being a 2K counter. If I'm not, let me see here what it does. Add 1 card. So, okay, this is when attacking. You may trash 1 card from your hand, add 1 Dawn. Not very cost effective in my opinion. So, like I said, this deck is stacked with plus 2K counters, and that's what most of these cards are that you're seeing. Same with the ulti. We did have a variant where we did play page 1. But, you know, I didn't realize going into that he couldn't attack the turn he was summoned. Only rush characters are able to do that. So we kind of just removed him. He was either very cloggy or just not a body we needed on board, because he was just wasting space in our hand or our deck. This card here, Drake, is great as a +2 counter, and it's on play effect. You you send 1 Dawn back to the Dawn deck, and your opponent trashes 1 card from their hand. Very good by turn 3. It kind of, I'm not going to say stalls, but it does put a hiccup in the red-green deck for Bonnie and Nami, depending on their hand and how you have your board set up as far as attacking or defending. Next is the only other blocker that I mentioned outside of the Hidarashi that we play, which is Queen. I do play the on-play effect quite often. Mid to late game, it comes in handy if you don't have a boss character such as any of the kings or any of the boss characters. Having a 10 drop coming off of this, so helpful. And 9 times out of 10, I'll ditch the king in place of this, depending on the draw and things of that nature. Moving forward with the deck here next weekend, these 2 kings right here will be replaced by Douglas Bullets. I don't, and probably never will, like this card. It was awesome at the start. I don't like playing 4 of it. If I'm going to play 4 of any of the king, I would rather it be this one. I find there's a little more utility in board control versus just removing 1 body and versus taking out 2 blockers that could potentially win the game. Same with Douglas Bullets effect. You return 4 Dawn and you are able to basically rest. I believe it is 4 or less? 5 or less? I don't know the effect, but I know it can rest 2 of your opponent's characters with a certain cost, and it stops blockers from moving. You're able to go forward and attack for game, or just kind of apply pressure to your opponent. You'll see in the thumbnail that I titled this Kaido control. The whole point of this is racking up Dawn as fast as possible, countering when you need to, but also gaining hand advantage from life. I will 9 times out of 10 always take the first hit for life, just to give myself the +2 advantage off the draw and the life going into the earlier turns of the games. Now, like I said, I would rather play 4 of this king here over the other one, just because I find a little more utility out of this versus just removing 1 character where I can control getting rid of blockers. Now, in a certain situation, a cost 4 or less blocker will be seen. I don't necessarily see too many of them. I do see a lot of these 6-drop laws, which are blockers, but this is more focused on board control and kind of getting things taken care of when you need them and when you see them. Now, this next card is the 9-drop Kaido. It does have the ability to pop a cost 6 or less, and this card gains rush. So it has a KO of a cost 6 or less, and it gains rush the turn it's summoned. Like I said, very good for clearing out pesky blockers that are a cost 6 or higher, but or a cost 4 or higher up to 6. I don't really see any other blockers that are above 6, and if you do have one, I need to know its name. But I very rarely play this card. I could arguably remove it to play the 8-drop Kaido to get the extra Dawn when it's played. Personal preference there, but when I do see this card and when it is played, it's normally to close out a game or just put pressure on the opponent. Now, the bread and butter as far as the main boss character of the deck, I do play 4 of the 10-drop Kaido. This thing is a godsend, especially when you slap down the alt art. It feels so good clearing a full set up board by your opponent, red, green, blue, mostly all of the boards and all of the decks that can set up full boards. Pacifista engine, you have the Centamaru, you get the what's his name, Kuma, boom, Pacifista. If it's the blocker version, even then, it's the entire board. I love this card. I've seen lists played at 2. I will never play this card at 2 again. That was the one mistake I learned playing this deck earlier. Me and my friend kind of went through it, took it apart, and constructed it the way that I wanted to play it. And we realized that I'm very dumb for not playing this at 4 when I had the cards to do so. A lot of people will probably say this is the crutch of the deck, but no, this card right here can turn the tide of a game in your favor very quickly, in the blink of an eye. And out of the 2 Kaido mirrors that I played, this deck saw 50% success against the mirror. The first deck that I played was a list almost like mine. She played 4 versions of the 6-cost king while I played the 2. And the one that I lost to, the difference was that he essentially had used the effect of the leader to trash my last life card, and then going in the next turn, I didn't really have much in my hand, so he had me on the ropes. It was neck and neck. I did get him down to his last life, but unfortunately, I did not have enough to close out game. The deciding factor for him, I believe, was the 8-cost Kaido that you get from the promo packs. Him being able to get that 1 extra Dawn there towards the end of that turn was very crucial. And I did have the cards that I needed to protect myself from that attack, but I did not have the required Dawn to do so. But with that being said, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. I will be uploading a 8th place Luffy deck profile. I will see if I can maybe construct that deck list again. If not, I will have to use the One Piece TCG Sim. Link for that will be down below in the description to kind of showcase that deck to you guys. It was my very first local. I ended up topping 8th place by the skin of my teeth. My friend was my last opponent, and that guy had beaten the brakes off of me for weeks straight, and I finally got my redemption against him. I might even bring him on for that video to kind of explain how things panned out afterwards as far as the little arguments we had there. We'll talk to you guys here again soon with that next video. Wrath out.